Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I've been in chiropractic for 29 years now. Since I stepped in school, and I can't tell you the last time that I went to a seminar that I felt and experienced so much wisdom from the speakers and so much presence from the audience. So thank you. I hate flying. It's the only thing I'm scared of in my life. That's it, flying. But I do it because chiropractic is one of my highest values. And there was like a little bit of turbulence. I'm talking like this, and I was holding the women's hands on the side of me. I'm like, they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Please, we're gonna die." And they're like, no, it's just a little turbulence. But it doesn't matter because that fear, my vision, my highest values are so far beyond that. I want to share a funny story because Andres put up that photo with Reggie. So I was just about to get up to speak. I have the microphones on, right? And Reggie Gold spills a coffee like this big on my leg. And every part of my lower body's burning, right? I'm like, "Reggie, I'm about to get up and speak." And he goes, "Don't worry about it. You can go change your pants." I'm like, "I can't." So I got up and spoke, and my whole leg was just burning hot with coffee. And that was the last time I ever saw Reggie. And that memory will stay with me forever. He's a friend and a mentor. And I'm so glad that happened because it was perfect. So, what I was thinking about this morning, how is it even possible in our educated minds that we're all here together? I'm from a town in New Jersey about 20 minutes from New York City. And this guy I met online, and he's from Oman. He lives in Oman, and he's here. And I met Andre, and all of you, how are we here? Because in 1895, chiropractic came through D.D. Palmer. And an evolution and a revolution started, right? This was a new paradigm of life. 50% of our service, in my opinion, needs to be about this paradigm, this revolutionary, evolutionary paradigm. When I met Bruce Lipton, one of the world's leading biologists, he says to me, "David, science is just catching up to where D.D. Palmer was in 1895. So here's the thing. Chiropractic comes through him, through principle. The foundation's laid out. Do we have to evolve the philosophy, science, and art? Of course. It's our duty. If we don't evolve the philosophy, science, and art, this becomes dogmatic. And when it becomes dogmatic, it dies. But, here's the big but. When we evolve chiropractic, it has to be under the objective that D.D. Palmer laid out for us, the location, analysis, and correction of vertebral subluxation. Because everything else that is not chiropractic. Someone founded this profession with that objective. And in his book, even though there was a lot of philosophical things that don't make sense to us today, he said over and over, this is non-therapeutic. Those two things laid out the foundation for us to evolve philosophically, scientifically, and in our art. So, I want you to close your eyes for a minute. Please, engage me here. And I want you to feel what I'm about to talk about. I want you to feel this in every cell of your being. You cannot receive chiropractic from this point on. You can't deliver it. Imagine you never even heard of it. If you have kids, imagine your kids are growing up subluxated. What does this feel like? What would you be doing right now if chiropractic never existed? It never came into the physical plane. What does that feel like? I want you to feel that. I have no idea what I would be doing. I have no idea what my life would be like. Imagine during the pandemic that you didn't have the information, the philosophy that you have. What choices would you have made? What choices would you have made for your kids in the last 15, 20 years if you never heard of chiropractic? Just imagine it didn't exist. Okay, open your eyes slowly. How did that feel? For me, it feels, can I swear? I'm from New York, so I like to swear. It feels fucking horrible, right? And I do this exercise every day, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this isn't science fiction. This is our trajectory. And you might be living in this little bubble in Germany right now of, wow, chiropractic is pure, and this is what it is. But let me share. I've been able to travel around the world in chiropractic, and I'm going to share the reality of this. And of course, I'm here to give solutions. But unless we wake up now, right now, that's why I do this exercise every single day, within 2 to 3 generations, this will become extinct. There are major organizations that are already coming into Germany that are getting rid of the word vertebral subluxation. You start getting rid of our language, you destroy our profession. Just look at osteopathy. Where is it? They're medical doctors. But when you're in a place like this, there's hope. So I want to share 3 major problems, and then I'm going to give the solutions to those problems. And I want you to think about this, and like Andre said, it's worth nothing if no action's taken. So my hope here is that someone here gets inspired enough to wake up tomorrow and says, not on my watch. Because I made a promise to people like Reggie Gold, Tom Gilardi, Sid Williams, not on my watch. This will not die on my watch while I'm alive. I promise you that. So problem 1, the chiropractic objective has been corrupted into therapeutic medicine. If you think about the definition of medicine, the treatment of symptoms, sickness, and disease, and the diagnosis of symptoms, sickness, and disease, it doesn't matter. We all get upset about physical therapists manipulating the spine for pain and all this stuff. That's what they should be doing. If I'm a physical therapist, I'm going to manipulate the spine to get rid of pain, right? Anytime you cross that line into treating symptoms, sickness, and disease, you're in a therapeutic model. And chiropractic was started in a non-therapeutic model. I want to share a story. It's in my new book here for my practice. I'm in Argentina. I'm illegal there. I have no paperwork. I have no paperwork to have my practice open. I just open. I'm like about 6 months in practice, and this woman comes in. What's your name? She says, I'm Beatrice. Why are you here? And she said, I've been to 10 chiropractors in this city. And I show them my x-rays, and I have a rectified neck. So they all say to me, your pain because I have massive pain on my shoulder and my arm. Your pain is coming because your spine's rectified. And there's a principle in chiropractic, principle number 6. How long was that pain there for? And she says, oh, it's been there getting worse and worse, but it's been there for a while. Okay, so we need to give this time and it'll go away. But it's not going away. I've been to medical doctors, I've been to osteopathies. Nothing helps. And I told her the truth about chiropractic. I said, well, let me examine your spine. Do you have subluxations? This is after she heard my talk. Yes. And you have a subluxation, I believe, that's been there for a long time in your 6th cervical. Could that be the reason you have pain? I have no idea. No idea. This is the truth. But what I can tell you is this. You're better off when I correct your subluxations. Your pain may go away, it may not go away, but what I can say is when your nerve system starts to become clear, you're going to maybe understand what other things are going on in your life, and maybe you'll understand the pain better. She says, okay, I'm in. So I start checking her spine. A little bit of time goes by, and she doesn't come back. So I have a CA at the time because I don't speak Spanish at this point. Phone rings. David, there's a really famous neurologist on the phone for you. I'm like, buy me a ticket. Get me out of here. You know, like, what's going on here? My face, she's like, I turn pure white. He says, are you Dr. Serio? Yes, this is Dr. Da. Okay. He says, you saved someone's life. What do you mean I saved someone's life? You know a woman named Beatrice? Yes. Okay, she's here with us, and she had a brain tumor. And if you didn't stay in your lane and tell her the truth, she would be dead. The brain tumor was radiating pain into her shoulders and her arms. And after she got adjusted a couple times, she says, I need to go see a neurologist. Innately, she started feeling this. She goes, gets a diagnosis, lives, brings her kids for chiropractic. Every single time I see her, my birthday was a few weeks ago, she sends me incredible gifts, and she says every single year, or whenever I see her, you saved my life, you saved my life. I can't thank you enough. Imagine this. If I would have crossed that therapeutic line, because it's black and white, there's no gray area here. She's dead. Right? How many times do we cross that gray area? The way we advertise chiropractic. Go on Instagram for 10 minutes and look up chiropractic. All you see is therapeutic chiropractic. I don't care what you call it, that's not chiropractic. It's medicine. It's the practice of physical medicine. What other profession out there practices something so powerful? I loved Patrick's talk. That was unbelievable. And I always thought about this when it comes to this. This is so far beyond health. How do you measure things that are immaterial? The power of a chiropractic adjustment is affecting life force, that connection between the intelligence and matter. How do you measure that? So what truly is a chiropractic result here? It drives me crazy when I hear this. I get great results. What does that mean? Oh, people with headaches, their headaches go away with my technique. My Reiki master gets the same results. I receive Reiki on my body. She tells me the same thing. No. But people sleep better with my chiropractic care. Okay, my massage therapist also tells me that. So what's a chiropractic result then in a non-therapeutic way? It's having an analysis, a chiropractic analysis for a vertebral subluxation that tells you exactly when and when not you have to deliver an adjustment. I have a woman named Constanza that's been seeing me for years. And one day she comes in and she says to me, David, I know that you don't base what you do on symptoms, but I was in the hospital on Saturday because of a migraine. I check her spine and she's clear, completely clear. And I said to her, Constanza, you're not subluxated. I don't need to adjust you. She goes home. 3 hours later, she called up my CA and said, innate intelligence is genius. I go to my house and my boyfriend says to me, you haven't drank water in 3 weeks. I started drinking water and my headache goes away. So here's the thing. If I'm in a therapeutic model and I don't have an analysis that tells me when and when I don't have to adjust a vertebral subluxation or where they exist, and I put a force into her spine, she never understands her innate and what it's trying to speak and tell her. I have a 16-year-old daughter who happens to be in Paris right now. And when she was about 10, we're walking the dog, and she says, Daddy, I have a really bad migraine, and I never get migraines. Will you check my spine? But she didn't ask me to check her spine for the migraine. She said, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Check her, she's clear. I said, okay, Dominique, so what do you think? She said, I think I ate too much sugar the last few days. Okay. And I didn't sleep enough. I was at my friend's, I was up all night. Okay, so what do you need to do? I need to get back in balance, 10 years old. And I started crying like a baby and I said, could you imagine the world where every child grew up understanding their own innate needs? And when they had a symptom, instead of saying, I'm sick, they said, I need to understand my body a little better. This is a process. What's going on here? Our innate is like our internal guidance system, but none of this happens when we cross the therapeutic line. And once you cross the therapeutic line, the natural progression, all these chiropractors are so upset that we want to prescribe medicine. Right now in 3 states in the US, they're pushing laws to prescribe medicine. It's just the natural progression of being a therapeutic chiropractor. Because here's the thing. Putting forces into the spine isn't always going to get rid of symptoms, sickness, and disease. So the natural progression is adding, like Deirdre's so powerfully shown, they're adding things because they're in the therapeutic model, and this doesn't work, then this doesn't work, then this doesn't work. So the next step is to prescribe medicine. The prescription of medicine is the symptom for what's going on here. Number 2, this statistic blows my mind. Children 15 and younger, the first time in human history that children will live less years than their parents. How mind-blowing is that? We have more science, we have more money, we have more research, but there's more sickness, symptoms, and disease. And this is the first time in humanity that kids will live less years. So why is this a problem for us? Because there is big business behind this, right? They want to keep us sicker and sicker and sicker. So it's like David versus Goliath, right? But this also leads to major solutions, and I want to share some of those solutions with you. But this is the reality of what's going on. People are walking into our practices more subluxated than ever. Some of the old-time chiropractors I know that have been around since BJ, there's not many of them left anymore, but they'll tell me, David, the last few years, Betty Gilardi, one of my heroes, still sees people. She's 90 years old. And she told me when we were there, she said, David, kids at 15 years old are like what I used to see with people in 50, 60 years old. More subluxated than ever. Number 3, The collapse of chiropractic leadership and success. I've been in this profession for 29 years. And there's very few leaders that are willing to stand up for chiropractic. About 10 years ago, no, maybe a little more, about 12 years ago, there was an opportunity to bring down the CC in the United States. The CC is basically the accrediting body that is pushing us into medicine. Not one college president, not even the President Sherman at the time, stood up and said, I don't agree with this. No one. No one. That wouldn't have happened during BJ's time. There are less and less successful chiropractors practicing pure chiropractic. I've had the opportunity to meet all these amazing chiropractors that were around when I was at Sherman, people that went to jail for chiropractic, people that learned during BJ's time in chiropractic. And these were very wealthy people from practicing pure chiropractic, impacting tons of lives, charging an accessible fee, and changing the world. What happened to that today? Look at Gonstead, what he did. That blows my mind. I have this big book with all pictures. The guy opens up in a town of 2,000 people, and he builds this monument to chiropractic. That's what pushes me every day. But why didn't I do that? Right? I mean, where did this go? And it's up to each of us to understand that these are real problems and a reality in our profession. And we have, in my opinion, 2 to 3 generations before this either thrives or dies. Chiropractic education, Sophie and Abby are at Sherman right now. They're graduating with over $200,000 in loans just to get started at 9 or 10% compound interest every day. Why aren't the chiropractic presidents doing something to lower the cost of chiropractic education? There is a collapse in chiropractic leadership. Tomorrow, I do this every day too. I look in the mirror and I say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to make sure that 7 generations from now, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 7 generations from now can go and get their spine checked for vertebral subluxation and have a different paradigm of life? During the pandemic, what happened in your countries? Was there any alternative thinking? In my practice in Argentina, I didn't wear a mask. I'm like, I'm not wearing a mask anywhere I go. I didn't put on a mask once. Not because it's chiropractic or not, it's because my understanding of innate. Most of the people in my practice, not because I'm anti-vaccine, I'm pro-innate. They were like, I'm not getting the vaccine, no way. Are you getting it? I'm like, what do you think? Not because I ever talked to them about a vaccine, because I talked to them about innate intelligence. They don't want us around. Do you understand? We are the last line of defense for this global, their utopia of everyone becoming a mechanistic robot, or whatever you want to call it. We're the last line of organized defense. Chiropractic. It's the last profession that has any principles connected to natural law. And if this dies, there's no line of defense. There was a time in chiropractic where we had to be against medicine because it was, in the US at least, it was being pushed further and further, but we don't have to be against anything anymore because the evolution of consciousness is different. We have to just be pro-chiropractic and wake people up to a different consciousness through the 33 principles. Remember this, if you only leave with one thing from my talk, 50% of what we do is teaching people the principles of chiropractic. I just traveled to Chile to do an event for one of our practices. There was more people in the room than here, in the public. I had Arnold Bernier come to speak to my practice. We had over 300 people listening to the concept of universal intelligence. People want and need what we have more than ever. But if you're just locating, analyzing, and correcting vertebral subluxation without teaching them a new paradigm of life, you're a mechanist. Because it's where the consciousness gets shifted. It's what BJ said. The worst subluxation is above atlas. And we're not psychologists, we're chiropractors. So if you're educating them, inspiring them, helping them transform through these principles, that's where the magic is. When people come in and say, you know what? I'm making different decisions based on chiropractic principles. For me, that's what fires me up every day. Arnaud Bernier, one of my mentors, used to ask us all the time, what changed your life more, the adjustment or the philosophy? For me, it was both. I can tell you story after story about putting this into practice in real life, but I want to share one of the best stories from my practice ever. This woman's coming in for 6 years with her children, and every single visit, she complains about some type of pain or something after she gets checked. But she brings her kids, and she doesn't complain like, you got to get rid of my pain. She's always like, David, I have this heaviness and pain, whatever. 6 years go by, and she tries everything besides chiropractic with no result in her pain. One day she comes in and she says, my pain's gone. I finally got it. What happened? I signed a divorce paper with my husband, right? She says this to me. Her kids weren't there that day, and I start laughing like all you. And she goes, my husband abused me for 10 years. And I finally understood something you tell me over and over. You're removing my vertebral subluxations. My job is to look at my life and understand where there's other interference. And maybe I'm clear enough to understand that my husband was causing me major interference, and it was affecting my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health, and my energetic health. But I didn't get that until a few weeks ago. For me, that's where people need time to open their consciousness. That's, for me, principle number 6. Keep adjusting them when they need adjustment, and keep adjusting their minds with the paradigm of chiropractic. And that's where lives get impacted. But imagine this, too. If I was focused on therapeutic chiropractic, she would have been gone within the first 6 months because her pain didn't go away. This is so much bigger. So let's go through the solutions here. Save chiropractic through unwavering commitment. If you don't think you can make a difference, lay in a room at night with one mosquito, right? Andres and I were in Brazil, okay? So it's malaria season. Malaria season in Brazil. So they say you got to really be careful of mosquitoes, right? So we're at the beach. We're there like 4 days. And every single night, I'm like, do you have welts on your body? He's like, I'm bitten all over the place. We're just getting destroyed by mosquitoes, and it's malaria season in Brazil. The last day, we're checking out, and I opened the curtains to the window. We never closed the screen. I'm like, we never closed the screen door. The mosquitoes were coming in. Sometimes in life, this is what I love about chiropractic, it's the most simple thing. That was something so simple, I would have been sleeping every night, that we overlooked. How often in chiropractic do we overlook the simplicity of what we do? I asked Dr. Arnaud Bernier once, what's the hardest thing about chiropractic? And he said, it's too simple. Chiropractors want to complicate it. It's so simple to deliver an adjustment, to analyze for verbal subluxation, to share the principles of chiropraktic. So often I hear people don't get it in my community. No, you don't get it. These are universal principles. They lie within each of us. All you got to do is teach them. I look at it like this. We're just removing all the brainwashing that they have had from a mechanistic point of view from day one. So the first solution to this is look in the mirror and ask yourself, what is my commitment to chiropraktic? I was talking to Travis about his path the other day and how much he does. That's an example for people to follow. Because as he said, he doesn't get up and say, I want to be in the politics of chiropractic, but he looks himself in the mirror and he says, who's going to do this if I don't? Unwavering commitment to chiropractic. Does that take sacrifice? I don't like that word. It takes time, energy, and focus. But I don't like the word sacrifice because it's not a sacrifice to be here with you, flying 14 hours. That's not a sacrifice. That's alignment with one of my highest values on this planet, is chiropractic and my kids 7 generations from now being able to receive this. Because there's no way I'm going to leave this planet and think someday my daughter is going to have great grandkids. And if she can't bring them to get an affordable, accessible subluxation correction service, what am I going to do? It's up to me. That's number one. Number two, adjust the world when they need to be adjusted. So I moved to Buenos Aires, not speaking the language, and I opened this illegal practice. And I was so pumped. I was seeing like 250 people a week. I was happy. And Arnold comes, and I'm like, he's gonna say like, this is great, right? So he spends the day with me. This is one of my main mentors, and he's David, what the fuck are you doing here? You need to impact more lives. And then I heard about Andres, and I'm like, there's this guy Andres in Sweden that sees like 700 people. I'm not adjusting enough people. So I get my practice over 400 people. And then I hit this point where I didn't want to lose the quality. For me, that was the maximum for me in quality. And I said, okay, how do I get to more people and more people? And the answer for me was to start a worldwide team. Last month we checked. We had the service of chiropractic for over 22,000 people in 4 countries. Non-therapeutic, pure chiropractic. My goal is to get that to 1 million a month. That's my goal right now. I'm not going to rest until I see that number, and it's 1 million people a month were checked in our system of chiropractic. Number 3, create an army of successful chiropractors. That's what I set out to do. So if you're not abundant, if you can't make an abundant living doing what you're doing, you can't give back. I know personally, many of us give a lot of money back every month that we could be using for but if we weren't abundant in this, we couldn't give back. So personally, the other day we were talking to Patrick, and he tells us he raised $6 million in Australia for his school from chiropractors. That's abundance. Could we do that in this room right now? Ask yourself that question, right? So when we create an army of successful chiropractors, we can give back. And it starts with you and your practice. Individually, we're one drop. Together, we're an ocean. You heard a lot over and over this weekend about finding your tribe. When you do this together as a group, you're unstoppable. Because then everyone just gives a little bit and you become unstoppable. Same in practice. Create a group where you're sharing philosophy, you're reading books together, you're sharing practice ideas. I'm going to give you my contact. If I could ever be of help or you want to have me on a Zoom, I'm here to serve. But together you go so much further than individually. Here's the deal. It's easy to leave a Congress like this and feel like inspired and pumped up and then nothing changes. But the time is now. I just talked to 3 people from England that said they're trying to put these digital ID cards on everyone. You know where that's going, right? The world's becoming more and more. It's just, these are all things of an extension of mechanism. All of these things where they're pushing us is an extension of mechanistic thinking. And if we don't wake the world up now, wake up ourselves, then where are we going to be in 10, 15 years as societies? We're not going to be in that utopia. So the revolution and the evolution starts with you. One of the greatest lessons Arno ever taught me was this is about you before it's about chiropractic. People are coming in to see you as a person. That takes serious personal work. Trust me, I work with over 60 chiropractors. And the ones that don't work on themselves, how do you think their practice is? Struggling, frustrated, not grateful. Do the work on yourself. That's where it starts. This is inside out. In order to transform the profession, your practice needs to transform. But what you get back, I was with Andres at a seminar, and we were talking to this chiropractor from New York. We were in Scotland, and he says, you cannot outgive the giver. That phrase never left me. I can tell you firsthand, I saw my mentors. The reason I was so attracted to becoming and giving in chiropractic is because I saw my mentors, these vibrant people that were so happy in life, did what they love, were around great people, traveled the world, and I'm like, that's what I want. Okay, you got to be willing to give and give and give, and what comes back is multiplied. Some nights I sleep 3 hours, 4 hours, because I'm giving so much back to chiropractic. And that comes back multiplied. Being here with all these amazing people, that's a gift. I'm not giving here. I'm receiving multiplied of what I'm giving to you. This is where the magic in this lies. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is the amount you give. That's where you start shifting and crossing that gap from the ordinary to the extraordinary. So if you like what I had to say, I have 3 books. I pretty much donate all the money that I make from the books back to chiropractic. So this is my newest book, 33 Gold, my favorite one so far. The Triumph of Chiropractic Practice, about practice. It's not a philosophical book. And then the original 33. I'm going to leave my contact information. It's my personal number. If I could ever help anyone, connect, talk, questions, there's my personal information. So I want to close with this. When Andres showed that video of that girl in the wheelchair, did you see her face when he adjusted her? You can't measure that. How simple was that? That is worth protecting. That is worth giving your time, energy, money to chiropractic. That is worth calling your friends on Monday and say, next year, you have to be at this event. At least just listen. That's worth joining organizations like the IFCO or getting involved in places like the coalition. Because if we don't preserve that, what chance is there for humanity? You can't put that in a box. You can't say that's about health. It's so far, but that's about life. The 33 principles of chiropractic are about life. So I want to leave you with a question for yourself. What are you going to do? You going to go home on Monday and say, that was nice? Or are you going to get up and take a step towards impacting the profession, your practice, all the people around you, and every chiropractor you know? It starts with each of us looking in the mirror, and that's how this grows, inside out. It's up to you if next year this is 10 times the amount of people. That's how we start creating change. So I look forward to connecting with you at the banquet, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you.